Hayden here from my bottle shop, and today we've got Craig Johnston he's the global brand ambassador for the Benriach distillery, along with the GlenDronach and also the Glenglassaugh. This brand is now owned by Brown-Forman, which is the brand owner of also Jack Daniels and a couple other
Herradura as well, Herradura Tequila,
yeah,
famous brands.
And today we're just going to have a bit of a chat about the different expressions. We've got some discontinued ones here as well, and also some new releases. So yeah, Craig, I'll just hand it over to you if you just want to give us a bit of a rundown, and we've got one to try there as well, so go for it.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Hayden. And
Yep.
it's really good to be here. Yeah, we'll have a look at a couple of whiskies that are on their way out, shall we say, and we'll have a look at a couple of the ones that are going to be coming in to replace them. I'll give you a little bit of a background on the distillery as well, and then, as always happens, I talk too much, so if I need to wrap things up because we're using all the NBN in Sydney, just let me know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what can we say about Benriach? First of all, it's what we consider our classic Speyside distillery and whisky. It's based in the city of Elgin in the northeast of Scotland, and it's in good company. It's right next to the Longmore and Manachmore, across town from Glenmurray, and just round the corner from Linkwood Distilleries. So it does sit almost in the crown of Speyside whisky making. And when we talk about Speyside whisky, we're generally talking about really complex, fruity, what we would maybe call in Scotland breakfast whiskies. And Benriach fits that bill, whether it's in its infancy at the 10-year-old stage, or coming through to some of these awesome older expressions that we have here as well. It was built in 1898. Right at the end of the first sort of boom in the whisky industry in Scotland, but it didn't really have a good first decade. It was closed within 7 years because of the Paterson crash, and it actually remained dormant for the next 60. But in 1965 it was reopened, and whisky started to flow again from it, and it was mainly used in blends up until about 15 years ago, when we started to see single malt Benriach take its rightful place in the shelf. We're known for being the mad scientist of our group, so our sister distillery GlenDronach is very much sherry heavy. It's all about big, massive sherry whiskies, and they do exactly what they say on the tin, and as far as we are concerned, we believe they do sherried whisky better than anyone else. Whereas at Benriach we get to play about a bit more with the wood policy. So the whiskies we'll look at today all have a little bit of a twist on what we would call traditional Scotch whisky maturation. So the first one we've got is the 17-year-old Benriach. This is a whisky that began its life in bourbon casks, and then for the last 4 years of its life it's been finished in big, sweet Pedro Ximénez sherry casks. It's a bottle that's no longer available in Scotland, so really the main reason I'm here in Australia is actually to taste this, and the fact that we got to drink some whisky the other night was just a good bonus, I suppose. It still shows the fruitiness, the tropical fruits, the grapefruit, the lovely sort of mango and orange flavours that you expect from a Benriach, but then on top you've got these lovely big jammy sort of Pedro Ximénez, dried fruits, dark chocolate. It's got that lovely, let's just say, red berry aroma to it as well.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
So that's the 17-year-old, which has now been replaced by the 22.
So the 17-year-old Pedro Ximénez, this was an unpeated expression, and what we've done to replace this is we've actually taken it up a notch. When we replace it with a 22-year-old that's finished for 9 years in Pedro Ximénez, but it's a heavily peated Benriach spirit.
Yep.
So it's got all those lovely flavours I talked about, and then it's got this huge backbone of peat smoke, which just adds another layer of complexity and a hit of flavour on the palate. So that's brand new to the market, the 22 Pedro Ximénez peated.
We actually had a tasting the other night of the Benriach. It's hosted by Brown-Forman and Craig, and one of the standouts for me was the peated cask strength. Just have a bit of a chat about that for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Our cask strength Benriachs were a couple of expressions that we put together, mainly down to customer feedback. Everybody loved our 10-year-old peated Benriach and the non-aged stamen, the Burnie Moss as well. But people wanted to see what our standard whiskies look like at full strength straight from the cask. So our previous master distiller Billy Walker put together a batch of his favourite casks between sort of 10 and 14 years old, of unpeated Benriachs and peated Benriachs, and we released them, and they absolutely just flew off the shelves.
So that was batch 1, which is no longer available, right?
So the unpeated Benriach batch 1 is almost sold out. Batch 2 unpeated is about to be released very shortly, so that will hopefully have a continuous roll through. But the beauty of that is batch 2 is actually done by our new master blender, Rachel Barry, so everyone around the world is really excited to see what her take on the stock of Benriach is. With the peated, we actually still have a bit of batch 1 left, so it'll be a little while before you see batch 2 come through. We didn't really launch this with much fanfare, we just wanted to put it into the market and see what people thought of it. And it started to take off in the markets where we expected it to, you know, the Nordics and Germany and the UK, where they love peated whiskey. And now we're starting to see that thirst for it here in Australia as well. So you'll still have a wee bit of batch 1 left, and then when that runs through, we'll then get to see what Rachel does with the peated stuff as well.
And do we know what we can expect from batch 2 yet? Or?
I wish I could say that we did, but the actual prototypes of the liquid have been put away while I've been on this trip, so that'll be the first thing I taste when I get back to Scotland in a few weeks. So I'm really excited to see. But what I can say is, when we've seen the switch from, you know, Billy Walker's iconic Benriach into Rachel Barry's, let's just put out there, her new iconic Benriach, there's just this amazing sort of slight twist to each of those recipes, which is I would say Rachel's kind of hallmark and trademark in this industry. She's got so much experience with different brands that she's bringing that a fantastic knowledge and experience and ability to put whiskey together. We're so proud of the World Whisky Awards this year. So from Rachel's recipes, the non-age statement Benriach that's in duty free won first and second, and the third place was the Heart of Speyside Benriach in the non-age statement. The 21 Benriach absolutely just ran away with Speyside whiskey over 18, and that is for me the best Benriach I've ever tasted. Is that 21?
21 Portwood, right?
It's actually going to have red wine, bourbon cask, virgin oak. So it's again a different twist on what you expect from 21. Yeah,
beautiful.
It's phenomenal. So yeah, the cask strength peated stuff it's not a breakfast whiskey. It's a great way to end a night though. Absolutely fantastic.
All right, and up here we've got a couple of other ones. So 22-year-old peated, finished in dark rum barrels. How long was that one? The Dunder, how long was it finished in dark rum barrels?
So you're about 9 years for the finishes on these 22-year-olds, so it's not so much a finish. A lot of people have said to me as a second maturation, and they'd be right.
For 9 years, yeah.
The thing I love about this release is sitting alongside it, we have an unpeated version as well. So the wood polish on both these whiskies is pretty similar. You know, spent the first sort of 12, 13 years of their life in bourbon casks, and then they've both been moved to rum. And we've got to watch these whiskies grow up together, side by side. So being released at 22 is pretty special, and having a rum cask finish that is so long is something that's pretty unique to the whiskey industry. So we're really proud of these as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
These were we tried these at the Benriach tasting the other night. They were fantastic.
Yeah, something different too.
Yeah, something really different. Tasting, you know, it was fantastic. What sort of kind of flavour profiles are we going to see from these?
Well, the thing that I really like about these is, you know, as a distiller, when we see the stuff come from the still, you get all these lovely fresh fruit flavours, and then Benriach, as it grows up and gets older, it becomes really tropical. And I think the original thinking behind putting Benriach into rum casks was to see what would happen if you maybe brought some sort of coconut and pineapple aromas from rum into that big fruit bowl that we've created from distillation. So it's accentuated all of those notes. You get this lovely, as I say, it is like, for me, like a coconut sweetness underlying there as well. And then obviously with the peaty one, you then get this amazing finish of almost smoked tinned pineapple. It's stunning stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's those two.
Big juicy whiskies.
The last thing maybe to talk about was the, at the tasting you had us put a little bit of water in the back of our mouth and then kind of let the cask strength peated whiskey flow over the top of it. That was an amazing experience. It was something that I've never tried before. I just want to talk about that a little bit and like how you came to discover that little trick.
Yeah, that's a nice trick.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean that story is one that actually originates from a little trip I did to Mexico about a decade ago, where I was invited down to make tequila, and you know, having gone down there with the rest of my company, I went off to do all the geeky stuff in the fields and learn all about the agave and cooking it and processing and distilling and aging it, while everyone else went for a couple of sort of margaritas at the bar. And I remember getting to the bar at the end, having done a couple of days of hard graft with the master distiller, and he showed me a new tasting technique that I'd never come across before. So he got everyone round and everyone had a few drinks, and he says, pick up your first glass of tequila, and he says, smell the top, the middle and the bottom. And the thing that I remember so vividly is that a few of the people there had had maybe too many margaritas, and they all picked up their first glass and they did this. Kind of following their instructions to the letter. But one thing that really stuck out, and it works really well with peated whiskey, as you guys saw the other night, is if you tilt your glass of whiskey at 45 degrees, everything in there evaporates up the wick and actually splits into 3 very distinct layers of aroma. So smelling above the lip, you should be able to smell the barley from which the whiskey's made. So you're going to get those lovely light malty notes. In the middle, you tend to smell the aromas that the cask has given the whiskey. So this is obviously a Pedro Jimenez unpeated one. There's loads of cherries, loads of dried fruits, loads of burnt toffee in there. With a peated whiskey, or the peated rum finish, you're getting more of those sort of smoked fruits and those pineapples and those aromas. And at the bottom, you get what the distillery gives to the whiskey, which tends to be alcohol hit and peat smoke if there is any in the glass. So I always say to people, if you're new to peated whiskey or it's maybe not your favourite, tilting it like that, you can actually see the other layers of flavour before you get down to that big heavy smoke. But I always say that avoiding the bottom of the glass is easy when smelling a whiskey. It's impossible if you're drinking a whiskey. So that's where the theory of removing the smoke from the palate came into my head, and that's simply drinking it through water. And what happens is the peat smoke basically just fires past all your taste buds, down your gullet, and you're left with the lovely sweet flavours that you get from the cask, some maltiness on top, and just a wisp of smoke at the back.
Well, I just want to say thanks to Craig for coming past today. As I said,
thanks, Craig,
we had the Benriach tasting the other night, which was fantastic. It was a great opportunity to try some of the higher age statement whiskies, and it was a great introduction to the brand. Most of these are available for sale on mybottleshop.com.au, along with the new batches of the 22-year-olds, and hopefully the car strength batch number 2 to come.
Well, I think we got some more of the batch number 1 on the way. Should have been here today, actually.
Yeah.
But that'll be the last of the batch number 1. So
Yeah. I might even buy one for myself.
Yeah, need to jump on that quick.
And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And yeah, Craig, thanks once again.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you.
Great to
We'll see you
you.
next time, gents. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.